All right, good morning, everybody. It is Friday, July 19th, 2024. We made it to the end of the week. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened here yesterday. So, pretty nice little sell off, right? Not too surprising, as it looked like that was the potential from the all time high. So, let's go ahead and take a look at what happened out of the open. And basically, the high of the day was 50% of last week, right? So we started to get down through it the day before that, right? And in the overnight session, we're trying to get back up through 50% of last week. And then the market opened, and as you can see, that was basically the high of the day. And then we began a pretty merry chug down lower. But as you can see out of the open here, chop around a little bit, held the back end of VWAP, didn't go anywhere, got back below. Morning low was right off of the close of the day before, and then they came up and they just could not get through 50% of the previous day. They even came up right at the end, and this is kind of typical with the levels we trade. You get kind of peaks through, and then all of a sudden the final test, they come right up and give it a nice little kiss, and then you get the push. So that's exactly what we got here. You can see that out of the open, this is the first opportunity to try the short off the 200. Unfortunately, we just didn't get a whole lot of follow through from there, right? So you might have been lucky and gotten a 5-pointer out of it, but more than likely, you had to grab 3 or 4 points and then it came right back. And then down as the market started to sell off, that's where this would have been a great opportunity. So I'm just pointing out that our setup where we get a crossover, price falls below VWAP, first test to the 200. In this case, didn't quite work out, right? They came right up into it, pulled back, but then could not get below the FMA and came right back, right? So from the bounce, we got an attempt at a pullback from the 200 and from the previous daily low, and the previous daily low happened to be one of our roadmap levels, right? One of our swings, so it came up, pulled back, and then pushed right into the previous daily close. Here's another great short opportunity. First real opportunity was to just recognize the weakness, the double top and the failure, and just jumping in as aggressively as you could. But the next, in my opinion, next great bearish opportunity or to fade the market was right here. When they came up and they tested into the close of the day before, you got one of those peak above and fail patterns with divergence, and that would have been a great entry to capture this whole sell-off, right? So the whole push lower was what? 56.40 from there all the way to 55.70. So you would have made quite a lot of money if you did jump in there. Also interesting to note that in this whole sell-off from the high of the day all the way down to this low, we got to bounce one tick in front of our next expected support level, which happened to be right there at 56.22 quarter, right? And then came up and failed within a tick or two from that previous daily close. And then on the way down here, if you missed out on that short opportunity off the close, you got another peak above and fail type pattern with bearish divergence right off the next roadmap level, the back end of the next roadmap level, and you could have grabbed this whole push as well, right? So, and then it was just an aggressive push from there, right? So 50% of the previous day, there's previous daily close. There's a reason we watched that. It also basically was the little support from the morning, right? Which is where I said we bounced right off the previous daily close or a tick in front of it. And then you had the tag of that roadmap level, and then it just became a very aggressive push lower. So as you can see, and this is why I say when we're in a very strong market one way or the other, the fast moving average will become your best friend. And basically for almost an entire hour here, you could have shorted the test of the fast moving average, kept adding to your position, and made a whole lot of money on this big sell off, right? They did peter out right at the next roadmap level at 56.12 for a little while there, trying to hold, and then broke lower. And then here's the tag of the back end of the 200 where you could have tried a short. Unfortunately, it didn't really go anywhere and it came back to the entry. if you did hold on, it wasn't a huge breakthrough. I think it was less than a 3-point break. And then you got the continuation lower. Again, another opportunity to try a fade off the back end of the 200. However, again, you did have to take on maybe 2.5 points of risk there, maybe 3 points. And then we got a little bit of a bullish rally. You did get one opportunity to short the back end of the 200 with divergence. Would have gave you about 5 points to the downside and then came right back up. And then you can see on the rally back up, we did get some holds off the 200. There was a hold to the tick right there and within a couple ticks here. So there were some nice bullish opportunities, but notice what happened. They just did not have enough strength to get back up through the next roadmap level. And the weakness continued only to begin the next rally lower. And from there, this, my friends, so if you tried the first setup where we had got the crossover, let's go back here, and you got in here and you got a stop out, well, you would have captured it here, and then where we just were, here's another failure off a roadmap level. And if you will, let's go back here. If I can, there was just a lot of volume yesterday. So sometimes the 512 tick chart will show the entire day in one screen, but this has obviously been a lot more volume. But if you can kind of squeeze all this in and look at it from a slightly larger perspective, held the back end of 50% of the day before, held the close of the day before, came all the way down, held the back end of the major retracement level. And from there, if you recognize that the market was still weak and started to sell off, guess what? You had that perfect opportunity right there later on in the day to get a beautiful short off the back end of the 200 after the crossover, after failing off a major roadmap level. And you could have got yourself easily 10 points to the downside, right to the next expected support where we did get the bounce. And if you kept your runner, you could have captured even more. I mean, this was just a huge sell-off, right? So great opportunity there. Got support right off the first roadmap level, support off the next swing level that we were pushing into there, but continued weakness. Of course, they threw a little curveball in there for anyone who was trying to be aggressive on the short side of things. And then at the end of the day, what do you know? The low of the day, and I don't know if that was quite it because I think they ducked right back down to it. No, that was it. We came down and the low of the day was within a couple ticks of our next major swing. Right? There's a reason I marked these swings. There were two major swings in the market that we were going to pull back into, right around 55.85 and right around 55.72 quarter. And what do you know? The low of the day and a 30 greater than a 30-point bounce right off of that second swing level, right? And if you tried the first swing level, if you're trying to be a counter trend trader and buy in an aggressively heavy market, which wouldn't have been my choice, you still got an opportunity to scalp off of it right into the FMA or right into the roadmap level where you should have expected there to be resistance right here and a potential for the market to continue to sell off. So there were still opportunities. A lot of these levels didn't get a lot of follow through, but they still got a rotation that could have been a scalp, right? So let's take a look at the end here. We finally come down to that major swing, duck into it with a peak below and bounce formation with bullish divergence, and then they come back and they retest it almost to the tick. And right at the end of the day here, we get a little bit of a bullish rally. Let's pull this over to, I guess, right about here. And as you can see, they start to come back up, reverse phase, and start to hold the top end of the 200 and the fast moving average to come out and push back up. Now, they didn't come in and hold the back end of 55.97, our SNR level, perfectly, but they pushed through. And then at the end of the day here, you can see it was basically, you could have faded this all at the end of the day here and captured the scalps right down to the 200 the whole time. At the end of the day there, they tried to pop out and going into Globex, as you can see. Let's see if we can zoom in here a little bit. Going into Globex, they pulled back and held the previous daily close. and got back through VWAP to come up, and then somewhere here in the middle of the night, the whole thing failed out, bearish divergence up off the high, and now here we are. So we got the pullback in the overnight session, so aggressive they couldn't even make it back to the 200. They held the back end of the FMA, came down, retested the low of yesterday, right around that major swing level, which was I think 72.25. Bounced out and then got some resistance here just a couple hours ago, right off the back end of not only the roadmap level, but the 200 moving average. And now you can see we've recovered a little bit from this pullback and have, again, kind of reverse phase on the short time frames to come back up through and then hold the top end of our moving averages coming into the open now. So that's where we're at. Having a little bit of trouble petering out right around the close of yesterday. Let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames and see what they have in store to finish the week out.